If you haven't been following what's happening inside Jake Paul's training camp right now, you're missing one of the craziest stories boxing has seen in years. Because we're talking about a YouTuber turned boxer stepping in with a former unified heavyweight champion, Anthony Joshua, on a massive global stage. And the stuff that's reportedly going down behind the scenes is wild. We've heard rumors before, we've heard hype, we've heard trash talk, but this feels different. Because over the last few days, whispers started coming out of Jake Paul's camp. Not leaks, not footage, not official statements, just quiet murmurs from people who say they've been in the gym, and what they're describing doesn't sound like a regular training camp. We're talking heavy sparring, legit heavyweights brought in, sessions reportedly stopped early, coaches huddling, energy shifting, and then the rumor that blew the internet apart. Jake Paul got knocked out in sparring. Now, we're not saying it's confirmed. We're not calling it a fact. We're not putting words in anyone's mouth. But when multiple sources start repeating the same story, when insiders start talking, when the vibe around a camp changes overnight, you can't ignore it. Especially when the man he's preparing to face is Anthony Joshua, a guy who turns people into highlight reels with one punch. And here's the wild part. This fight is booked. This fight is real. This fight is happening. Whether Jake Paul's camp is going smooth or whether it's falling apart behind the scenes. Stick around because we're going inside the full story. From the moment this fight was announced, to why Jake's camp looks more intense than anything he's ever experienced, to the knockout rumor that's now turning this fight into a global spectacle. And trust me, what we're about to get into makes the whole situation 10 times crazier. Before we even get to the knockout rumor, you need the context. Because this entire situation only makes sense when you see how fast and how crazy this fight came together. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua wasn't floated as a maybe. It wasn't a troll headline. It wasn't a negotiation leak. It was official, instantly. Out of nowhere, boxing got the announcement nobody expected. Jake Paul, a cruiserweight with less than 10 pro fights, was stepping into a professional heavyweight bout with Anthony Joshua, a two-time unified champion, Olympic gold medalist, and one of the biggest punchers in the last decade. They had full press conferences, face-offs, media scrums, Netflix banners, PR teams rolling out promo packages like this was a Marvel movie. Jake Paul sat at the table like he belonged there. AJ sat across from him with that calm, collected energy, like he was already planning the knockout. And this is where the tension starts. Because behind all the hype, all the cameras, all the back and forth, you could feel something wasn't right. Jake looked confident, but not relaxed. AJ looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, the type of confidence a man has when he knows what's coming. Fans were already whispering, is Jake actually prepared for this? No way he handles AJ's power. He better be sparring with giants in training. And that brings us to where things started to get weird. One thing you need to understand, when Jake Paul goes into a training camp, he usually documents everything. Behind-the-scenes vlogs, heavy bag clips, sparring highlights, workout sessions, inspirational speeches. But this time, silence. A complete blackout. No gym footage, no sparring clips, no pad work, nothing. Just a few generic photos, a couple of cryptic tweets, and people close to camp saying Jake was working harder than ever. That's already unusual. But then sparring partners started going quiet too. Normally when Jake brings people in, they talk. They post selfies. They post training stories. They try to get attention. But this time, nobody said a word. That's the moment insiders began whispering that something big had happened in sparring. Something Jake's team didn't want out. Which leads us into the rumor that's taken over the entire internet. Now let's be very clear. We're not confirming anything. We're not stating this as fact. We're not claiming it's verified. We are simply breaking down what multiple insiders have repeated. The rumor is this: Jake Paul got knocked out cold in sparring. Not rocked, not dropped to a knee, not caught by a shot. Knocked out cold. One insider claimed the session ended early. Another said they had to stop sparring for the week. Another claimed Jake didn't return to heavy work for days. And then there were the reports that they brought in a heavyweight, a legit 240-pounder with real pro experience, and Jake underestimated the power. Again, speculative. but coming from people who've been reliable before. What makes it even more believable? Jake Paul's entire energy online changed after that day. The posting slowed, the bravado dipped, the jokes stopped. Not fully, but you could feel something shift. And the timing lines up exactly with when AJ's own training footage dropped, right after the knockout rumors started circulating. Anthony Joshua released new training footage, and fans lost it. AJ looked leaner, sharper, quicker, meaner, focused like a man preparing for a demolition job. He was slipping shots, snapping uppercuts, throwing combinations with a speed he hasn't shown in years, and smiling. That scary AJ smile that only comes out when he knows something people don't. Even neutral fans were like, "This is the AJ that knocked out Klitschko." Jake has no idea what's coming. This training footage is insane, and Jake Paul saw it too, because right after that video dropped, Jake suddenly posted less training content. Coincidence? Maybe, but the timing is suspicious. And that leads us into the biggest twist so far. Here's why the knockout rumor matters so much. Jake Paul has never been hit by a true heavyweight puncher in his life. He's never been in with someone who walks around at 250 pounds and punches holes through world champions. He's never faced someone with legit heavyweight knockout power. And sparring partners can mimic traits, but they can't mimic Anthony Joshua's power. So if Jake did get knocked out in sparring even once, that's not embarrassing, that's dangerous. Because AJ isn't going to hold back. He's not going to work with him. He's not going to treat this like an influencer crossover. AJ is treating this like any other opponent. Beat him, stop him, make a statement, and Jake's camp knows it. Which brings us to a part of the story that makes everything even crazier. Some insiders actually think Jake Paul's team may have set this up intentionally. Not the knockout, but the hard sparring. Because if you're Jake Paul and you're fighting Anthony Joshua, you have to feel what a heavyweight punch feels like. You have to know what it feels like to be hit by someone 240 plus pounds. Your body has to register that level of power before fight night. So some people are saying, Jake's team pushed too hard. They brought someone in who was too dangerous. They tried to simulate AJ too realistically. They wanted to toughen Jake up, and it backfired. Again, all speculation. But given Jake's camp's silence, given the sudden tone change, given the timing, it's not impossible. And then things got even more dramatic. If Jake Paul did get knocked out in sparring even once, it changes everything, mentally and physically. Mentally, it plants doubt. It shakes confidence. It forces you to question your preparation. It makes you second-guess exchanges. It changes how aggressive you want to be. Physically, a knockout in camp can affect recovery. It forces coaches to change the plan. It changes sparring intensity. It reduces risk-taking. And it can impact the ability to take shots on fight night. Jake is walking into the biggest, hardest, most dangerous fight of his life. And this rumor, even if it's exaggerated, shows exactly how big the gap is between influencer boxing and real heavyweight boxing. But here's where things get even more interesting. Despite everything, Jake Paul is not someone you write off. He's proven he takes boxing seriously. He trains hard. He spars heavy. He puts in real work. He's not a joke anymore. And in his last fights, his timing has improved. His jab has gotten sharper. His head movement is cleaner. And his composure has evolved massively. He's not beating AJ on size. He's not beating AJ on power. He's not beating AJ on experience. But he can win on chaos. He can win on pressure. He can win if AJ underestimates him. He can win if AJ lets him drag the fight into weird exchanges. Jake's strength is unpredictability, and that's what makes this fight so fascinating. If Jake Paul goes into this fight fearless, loose, confident, he might just create enough chaos to make AJ uncomfortable. But if the sparring rumor is true, and his confidence took a blow, AJ might steamroll him faster than anyone expects. Which brings us to the big one. Here's where the entire story comes together. On one side, Jake Paul, a man trying to shock the world, possibly taking heavy shots in camp, possibly getting knocked out in sparring, walking into the most dangerous moment of his boxing life. On the other side, Anthony Joshua, one of the most explosive punchers in boxing, looking sharper than he has in years, smiling through training like this is just another day in the office. And between them, A Netflix fight that feels less like a sporting event and more like a Hollywood blockbuster. The sparring rumor only fuels the fire. AJ's training footage only raises the stakes. Jake's silence only adds pressure. Whether it's true, exaggerated, or completely wrong, it doesn't matter. The world believes it. The hype is real. The tension is insane. And when that bell rings, we're going to find out exactly how much of this rumor was reality and how much was just noise. One thing is certain, Jake Paul is either about to shock the world or walk into the most brutal reality check boxing has ever seen, and we'll be here for every second of it. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit subscribe, drop your prediction in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.